So dude, it's a pleasure to have you here. M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold. I am so amped up for June 2nd. I will tell you straight up, the last time saw you, I think was the Nightmare Tour several years ago, and it was for a radio station I was working for in Dallas, Texas, the Eagle. And you guys were playing a show. Do you remember, if I'm in the crowd, double fisting cold beers, sweating my ass off, what I probably would have seen hanging from the rafters up there at that venue?
Yes, you saw someone jump off and hang themselves.
Yeah. And
yes.
What I figured out after a couple of minutes of watching this guy is it was a real dude. Like,
this is a real dude. His name was Cowboy. And he came, he was doing like stunts in Vegas, and he was part of the doing crews and this and that. And when we came up with this idea that we wanted to start off the show with a bang, almost in like an Alice Cooper-esque, over the top, dramatic sort of representation of this very dark, therapeutic record that we had written, Nightmare, based on the Rev.
Yeah.
We wanted to start it off with something crazy. And I think someone said it in passing as like a joke. Like, what if someone jumps off and hangs himself before the set? Or it came from Cowboy, but either way, he was like, I can do that. And we're like, what do you mean you could do that? He's like, well, and he started coming up with this whole contraption of how he could set up this sort of, what would you call it? It's like almost like Blue Man Group, like meets Vegas sort of trick. And so like, using these wires that you can't really see very well. And then you have the rope, but the rope can break because imagine the other wires don't work, right? Like, so there's all these things that he built in, and then it worked like a charm, except for the first night of the tour. So the first night of the tour, this guy jumps, the rope breaks and goes flying back up in. So he's hanging by just the straps, but he has no rope. So then the rope starts dangling away from his neck. So he grabs it and sticks it under his neck and holds it and tries to pretend. And
dude,
we're sitting there going like, okay, this whole, like, this is not going to work. This gag is so embarrassing. And then he ended up getting it to work every night. But anyways, going off on another tangent, but
but I just appreciate it. And that you're pulling the curtain back, because like, if anybody had seen the Nightmare Tour, they saw that guy, and it's fascinating to me. And I guess the bigger question is the production value. I mean, when you see an Avenged show, it is a show. Like, I love the band Seether, one of my top 15 favorite bands. They're they get out there, and Sean Morgan is there to just fucking wail. They got some fog, they got a couple strobes, but it's a pretty basic show. And I'm not dogging them. That fits their style.
Yes, it does. Right.
So
like
yes.
Yeah. I think like if you take a band like them or Soundgarden or Nirvana, you don't really want dragons and goofy stuff. Right. Like, and so for us though, it's not about getting locked into that stuff either. It's about kind of every tour we're trying to do something different, just like we do musically, right? We want to do different things. So for instance, on this next album, we've really put away what we're calling the heavy metal junkyard stuff, right? Where you walk into the junkyard and you grab, I'll take that fire and that firework, and I'll take that, thing.
Yeah, that's such a cool way to explain it, because it's sick.
Yeah, it's sick. But on this tour, we're going to really try to push people. There was a time when a band like Iron Maiden revolutionized what a live show looked like, right?
Yep.
And now they've done it really well. Now we want to kind of see where we can, instead of taking what they did and doing more of that, we kind of want to see if we can push in a direction that is really emotional and like cerebral. And to do that, we have to bring out some other different toys on this one. So, and some new tools and working with people outside of the genre. So the live show is of such importance, but we also don't want people to walk in and think they already know what they're going to see.
Well, it's been a handful of years since we've been able to see you.
Yeah.
It's been a handful of years since we've gotten a brand new record, and you guys have been on the fucking gas for a couple of decades, man. There's never a lull in your records. You got a lot of records out. June 2nd, I cannot wait for this new record. I've heard a couple of songs, which I will have some commentary on in just a few minutes, but this record start to finish is sick. That final song on there was a bit of a surprise, which we'll get into in a minute. But like, I love the fact that you said, hey, you know, we don't want to do, you know, although you have a badass blueprint, Avenged does, for tours, it sounds like maybe you've kind of crumpled that up and you're going to try something new. And I cannot wait. Your tour starts pretty quick, you know?
Yeah. We're just rethinking everything. I don't think,
Yeah.
I think everything, once it becomes kind of standard and everything becomes like autopilot,
Sure.
you really have to like reevaluate what you're doing and why you're doing it. Right. And for me, the reason we started this band in a garage is because we thought we had something to say and we thought we could do it a little different than someone else. And we had idols, but we also thought we could step outside of their box and kind of do our own thing. And then you get this sort of audience capture thing, which I think is really dangerous, which is you get all these people telling you how great you are for what you did on a certain record. Sure. And it's hard as a human to know that you're going to disappoint them if you go in the direction you really want to go, or explore these sort of things and see where it takes you. And I think, but you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I trying to put out into the world? And am I furthering the human discussion, which is driven by art, right? Like no one knows what they want until they're given it. Like people can't imagine what that new thing is that's going to get them off.
You're
unless
right.
It's given to them. And so as artists, I think it's important that you either say, okay, well, we've got a groove and we can make some money on this and it's great. And this is our job. And so we're going to do that. That's fine. For us, it's just not the case. For us, we want to keep pushing boundaries. We want to live outside the box. We want people to be uncomfortable when they listen. We want them to say, this isn't what I was expecting, but I'm going to go along for the journey or not. So I think as a band, you have to decide what you're going for. And that's kind of, we're going for the little more, it's a little bit more of a war. we're on the war path of like, just kind of fighting upstream all the time. But I think that's fun.
I really appreciate you saying that. I so relate to so many things you say. And one of the things that I have in my notes is the word art. And like, maybe 20 years ago, when you were forming the band, maybe you didn't think of yourself as artists, but maybe just, hey, you know what? We're a band. We play music. But I feel like it morphs into, and probably pretty rapid. I mean, that's probably pretty fast track to becoming an artist and everything that encompasses. So like, again, I don't know if there's necessarily a question there, but I just relate to what you're saying because everything you said is true. Some people are everybody's going along for the ride, right? If you buy a ticket and I'm going to stand in front of the stage and watch an Avenged show, I bought a ticket, I'm along for the ride. How we digest it afterwards, and then get to know the record, I think is an entirely different thing. But one 100%. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah. It's, listen, it all goes back to this raw sort of element that we're all put on this planet. We don't know what's going on. There's no blueprint. And there's these certain things that excite us and they push us forward and they open up our minds and they drive us towards this sort of personal purpose. Right? This thing that makes us feel good, whether it's your family or it's love or it's your job or whatever it is that you love to do. But there's these moments of art and art would be the one, right? Whether it's music or it's a painting or it's movies or it's whatever. Those are the things that we all kind of collectively come together and it pushes forward this sort of like human narrative, this kind of human discussion of what it is that we're all doing here. And it really pushes on boundaries and it makes us feel things emotional, or we get that shock in the heart, or like we get the chills or goosebumps but then there's also things that we listen to and we go, that didn't move me at all. It didn't make me feel anything different. And those are the things we kind of put to the side and that's for somebody else. Right.
Sure.
So I think the place of music and art, if you can keep it away from being that commodity of like, oh, we can sell these things to everybody. And now it goes the other way, right? Where it's things are done for the wrong reason. So I think it's, and you go to this live performance and you're seeing people up there playing instruments. But what I love about live performances is I'm around all these people that are into the same thing I'm into. Because if I walk down the street, I don't see many long hair Metallica fans. If I go to the Metallica show, it's like, where'd these people come from? like, these are my people. Like, where,
This is my tribe.
yeah, where are you living? And like, I don't like, why don't I see you at the grocery store? You know, like, and then
Yeah.
like these people are
Yes.
coming out of the world. And I think there's so many elements that play into all the stuff that we're all doing. Right. And you know, whether it's you're listening on the radio all day and then you're going to the show and then you're buying the record and you're putting the headphones on at night, or you're simply on Twitch streaming video games, but the music's in the background, whatever it is that you're doing, it really does push forward the human narrative and the human conversation. And I think you can't take that lightly, because at the end of the day, when we're all gone, which we're all going to be gone, what was your like added value to the conversation? And if you're thinking about money first and you're thinking about all these other things first, it really, I don't think that's really you. It's not your core essence of what you're trying to say. So, you know, that's my mindset on it. It's the band's mindset on it. And that's why we do things a little differently. And I think I think in the long run, people will appreciate that.
I want to go back to something that what you just said is like, you know, like you and I have never met, although I did work for a radio station in Jacksonville, Planet Radio, and you guys Avenged did a strip club thing with us. I mean, this was so freaking long again, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like I've gotten to know you through your music and through seeing you probably a half a dozen times over the years. But you have no idea how I'm going to digest seeing Cowboy hanging from the rafters up there, but I'm still talking about it. Anytime I think about an Avenged Sevenfold show, and I can't wait until you guys land in fucking Chicago, dude. You guys have raised the bar to a point where I'm still talking about that. And that's one of the things that I love about going to see a concert and selling the idea of, hey, do you want to win these tickets? We're giving away Avenged tickets right now. Or you want to buy it or wear a t-shirt. Like if I see somebody at a restaurant wearing an Avenged t-shirt, I love talking to people, man. And so that spawns a conversation. And that to me, it's giving me goosebumps right now to tell you that, because you know, I think it's good to remind people like you that, hey man, your music, a tour that was 6 years ago is still hitting hard for a lot of people. So
that's awesome. No, I love that. That's awesome.
Little cheesy at times, man. But
no, but I have those moments too. There's all these moments of shows that I've seen that they're just, you know, they're like these imprints on you, and they influence you, right? Like I love when I see artists that make me feel something, and then it like makes me inspires me to want to go further or do certain things. Right. And I think that's why it's important for, even if you'll never talk to most of these people, there's so many things that are spawning off of crazy 100%. Ideas. Right. And it's like, that's what's so cool about it.
I will tell you, it was only, what was it? I don't know how long we've been on Nobody. Maybe let's just say a month, but I'm on quite a few rock stations that are just crushing it. And I will tell you that opening riff, I felt like, oh my God, when I'm hearing it, Avenged is back in the fucking house. Like, it is a haunting riff. It's just punching your face. And then the song opens up, you start singing, and it's like, oh, it's like hearing from a bunch of old friends again. And I love that song, dude.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a big weighty song.
Yes, it is, dude.
And it's different than what a lot of people were expecting, and I think that's fun, right? Like we had a really good time watching first day YouTube reacts. Oh, so good, so funny, because so many people were like, yes, this is gonna, and then by the end of it, they're like either they're either like got a tear in their eye, or they're like, I don't know what I just heard. I'm gonna have to listen to that again. So we were passing them around. It's funny. Or we had many people just turning it off, going, "This is terrible." So I think it's super rewarding to put out something that no one's expecting, and it's just a little left of center, and it's like, okay, well, like, let's keep pushing this narrative forward. The whole record is crazy, right? The whole record is like so many colors, and it is.
That's such a great way of it. There are so many colors to it. How long has that record been done? Like, since I'm talking about the last time you dabbled with it. How long has this thing been completed and ready for June 2nd?
Well, if you count mixing,
like done, and nobody's going to touch this thing again because this is the final effort.
Like October.
So it's been a minute.
Yeah. And we were done in the studio like last May. Yeah. So
Okay.
we mixed for
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
How does it feel? And how does it feel? Because June 2nd's coming up quick, man, that you're about to turn this over to us.
Yeah.
And it's a personal
We've
thing.
done all we can.
Yeah, dude. Exactly.
Take it where you're gonna. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny because when you have something for this long,
yep,
it feels normal to me now. But I'm just now getting feedback from people like reviewers or people hitting us up and going like, "What the hell did I just listen to?" Right? But when you've had it for so long, everything settles after a while, right? Like I remember listening to Pinkerton by Weezer the first time, or Yeezus by Kanye, or Disco Volante by Mr. Bungle. And the first time I put those records on, my head exploded and I didn't know if I liked it, if I hated it, that's gone away from me now on this record. Now all those records feel normal to me, right? I put them on. I know everything that happens in Pinkerton. I know what happens on all these records. So that's what's happened to me with this record. But now I'm getting the reactions from people that are getting it because the label's kind of giving it out to people for things. And the reaction is reminding me of like how crazy it is.
Well, because now it's like we're peeling to you, people are now peeling another layer off the onion, right?
Yes.
You've done that as a band over the past year or 7 months or so. And now I just finished listening to the entire thing probably yesterday, and I've gone through it again. I sort of want to fast track to the final song on the record. Is it weird for me to call an Avenged Sevenfold song beautiful?
No,
don't laugh. I'm just being 100% transparent. Do you know why I say that?
I love it. I mean, the record has beautiful moments. It has emotional moments. It has left turns. It has ugly moments. It has uncomfortable moments. And the last song was, written for Brian actually wrote that for my son when he was born. And I loved it so much. And it was on MIDI, right? It was, he programmed it all. And then I said, we got to have this on the end of the record because the record is really this sort of emotional, existential journey for humans, right? Like that feeling of anxiety and mundaneness and absurdism that comes with being on this planet. And it really felt like end of life, even though, or beautiful, or like a continuation of life. Life is but a dream. Are you talking about the piano song, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's just straight piano, dude. Like,
yeah. So I said, we got to make this. And so then he went, and Joe Breezy, our producer, is like, you should learn how to play that. And so he did. He spent 8 months every
Are you talking about Sin?
Sin, yeah.
Yeah.
So Sin spent 8 months every morning learning how to play that. So he actually recorded all that himself, which is insane. And
let me ask you this real quick. Did he not play piano, or does he not play piano?
No.
He
plays a little bit, but not at that level.
Okay, because there's a level there.
Yeah. He taught himself how to play flute on this record, harmonica, mellotron.
Okay. I think when people hear that, it gave me goosebumps, and it's really neat for you to take the time and just pull that back, because I had no idea. Like the fact that Sin had to learn piano for this song.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I feel like that's like I don't know, some actor that has to bulk up, or like Jared Leto in one of those movies where he had to lose all that weight and then regain it for the one where he played the guy who killed John Lennon. Like
100%.
That is an effort.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That guy wanted to play every single instrument on the record except when the orchestra come in.
Yeah.
Obviously not the other band members' instruments, but like the weird stuff, the flutes, he boxed the end of Mattel. He did all this, learning all that stuff with the dueling, like, syndicate or synthetic guitar stuff and multi-harmony. Like he wanted to do everything. And so at the end, Joe Breezy's like, yeah, if you learn the piano on this, that'd be pretty crazy. And he's like,
oh my God.
I'm like, there's no freaking way, dude. We're going to hire someone. And he ended up doing it. So
I can't wait for people to hear the album. It's going to drop on June 2nd. I'm going to I have a side note. It's always interesting to me because a lot of musicians that I talk to, specifically singers, their speaking voice doesn't match their singing voice. your speaking voice 100% to me matches your singing voice. Like,
yeah, I
that's
think
just an
especially,
observation. I don't know if you feel that.
well, on this record, I think a lot, because I think on the old Avenged records, we really were at like 10, like at all times on the vocals, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And there was a little bit of a whininess that came with that, and a couple
Yeah.
of things that I didn't necessarily love, because I don't speak with a whiny voice. And
I
so
love
on,
the whiny, and I wouldn't define those vocals on your songs over the years as whiny, but you're saying it.
yeah, and I just think on this record,
Mhm.
there's a bigger palette we're pulling from, and we kind of kept
Okay.
the whininess out, and a lot more of like lows and screaming, and then there's like vocal effects on purpose, and then there's vocoder, and there's just so many things that I feel like we had this big bag of toys and tools, and
Yeah,
we
man.
used them all instead of just overdoing the one like
Okay.
screamy shouty thing that we
Fair enough.
done on the old records.
Because your vocals on many songs, very melodic, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Melody is just
It's
so important to us. It's just so important.
and I will also tell you, whether it's drums, guitars, your vocals, like you guys, shit, I'm losing my train of thought in this interview. I feel like there's a lot of finesse in a lot of your music over the years. Because again, on one side of the coin, you guys are going at like a dragster down the drag strip. You pull the chute and it slows things down in the same song, and then you're melodic or sins a little bit more finessey on those guitar riffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, yeah,
So
for something like the guitar, right? It's like, you want to have a tug and pull. I think it makes the fast parts better, and it makes
yeah,
you want to have that dynamic range, right? Whether it's actually sonically, where the volume's up and down and you can hear instruments get lower or this or that, or if it's the tempo or how you're changing through parts, or if it's like just simply a vocal, like what would it be called? Like a vocal technique, anything that can change the listener's sort of the color they're hearing, like whatever it is. And I think you have to really, one thing that grunge did really, really well that we've kind of pulled from on this record is they really toggle between minor and major in a way over the same chords, right? So what they always did was, bands like Soundgarden and like especially Alice in Chains, they would drag you into the depths of depression, and then they could uplift you, all with the same sort of progression within the same song. And that's something that we really took to heart on the stage and this record, where we're really trying to play with you tonally and melodically, in ways that that I think sometimes get lost. Where it's a very old school way of looking at it. It's very Pink Floyd driven, like those artists that were really trying to add this darkness, not only with the notes they were doing, but with the production, the tempos, the feel, and just trying to make it a complete package and really just like be able to express what you're trying to feel on every single box you can check, right? To really get you there. And I think that's something that we pay a lot of attention to.
I think. Well, I've only been through the record twice. You've probably been through it 200
Too
times.
many times. Yeah.
What you're saying, though, in my mind, I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
I know you're busy. I have 2 questions left and a comment. Do you like your job?
I don't
And
think
it
of it
can't
as
be a yes or no question.
I don't think of it as a job. So I love it.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Favorite part of being in Avenged Sevenfold? Is it the writing and recording? Is it the tour? Or is it both?
It's
because your ass is going to be busy for a couple of years, dude.
Yeah, it's writing and recording. I like
Okay.
I like creating new stuff and getting excited. Even though writing is the most hellish, like once you're in writing, you're like, I can't wait till it's done. But you gotta like push those. That's like a very like lower brain sort of thought of like, get me out of this situation. This
Sure.
I have to write a bunch of songs. Like, what do I do? What I think creating is so fun. I love putting stuff out to the world. Because I'm at the point where I'm not worried about what's coming back at me.
Yeah.
I have a philosophy of just like put it out and it's going to be fine. But going on the road, that poses some issues, right? It's like we've got families now, and
Yeah, you do.
I
Yeah.
love hanging out with my family, and I don't want my kids to think I'm just like a goner dad. And also you get sick on the road and all these things happen. I love seeing the fans, but if I had to choose, it would be writing and recording.
Dude, this has been a spectacular conversation. I'm so thankful for your time. Home base for you, California, right?
Yep. Orange County. Yeah.
Round Table Pizza. Do you ever go there?
It's my favorite pizza.
Will you say that one more time? Because you're going to bring tears and goosebumps to my whole body.
It's my favorite pizza.
I was born in Portland, Oregon, so
Yep.
West Coast pizza chain,
Yep.
and I freaking love Round Table Pizza, dude.
My favorite. We have a place in Oregon, and when we come back, we always eat Round Table the whole way down because you go anywhere else, it's hard to get it. But no, we have a Round Table literally down the street from me. We order it all the time. Like they have me on speed dial. They like, hey, what's up, Matt? What do you want? So
I love it. Dude, when you guys roll into Chicago, I hope the opportunity exists for me to give you some high fives, share some horns, and maybe drink a beer, man, and see a show.
yeah, let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
Yeah, this has been spectacular. Congrats. Thanks, man.